Oh, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking. So let's talk about kind of a fun subject, I think. And even though it's fun, I think it actually is a real subject. It's not a myth. So here we go. Let's talk about mermaids and mermen. And I'm going to call this one Echoes from the Deep. So for centuries, tales of mermaids and mermen have stirred the waters of human imagination. Half human and half fish, these aquatic beings have appeared in nearly every seafaring culture. Think about that. These cultures, for many years, may not even known the other one existed, but they had almost a very, I don't want to say identical, but very, very similar story. Okay? Very important, I think. Um, so these aquatic beings have appeared in nearly every seafaring culture, from the ancient Assyrians to coastal tribes of Africa and Polynesia. Whether they're either feared as omens of doom or revered as sacred sea spirits, their presence in myth and witnesses reports suggest that something primal connects humanity to the water world, and perhaps sometimes real lures beneath the surface. Okay, so the earliest written reference to mermaid-like beings dates back to about 1000 BC in a place called Assyria, where the goddess Athena, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, transformed into a fish to escape the shame. Only her lover Only her lower part of her body turned, leaving her upper part as human, kind of the typical mermaid, right? This image would become iconic, influencing the Greek and Roman depictions of sirens and sea nymphs. Greek mythology introduced us to a something called Nereus, the daughters of Nerea, who were these beautiful sea spirits, often portrayed as aiding, helping sailors. Okay. Meanwhile, the sirens initially were bird-like, but later emerged with a fish-like features. Were infamously always luring men to their watery demise, and with their irresistible sounds and their irresistible songs. By the time of the Roman Empire, these figures had morphed into fully aquatic hybrids, and their tails glittering with ancient mosaics and jewelry. So they took it to another level, probably the level that isn't even close to reality. Okay, so in the Middle Ages in Europe, uh, the mermaids represented vanity and temptation. The church would also always illustrate them, showing them holding combs and mirrors, linked them to the sin of pride. But not all this allegory, all of this was allegory. Seafarers from the Norsemen to the the southern part of Portugal chronicled the encounters with a half human and half fish being, sometimes uh, being terrifying, not so much theoretical. So there's other cultures around the world. Let me talk about briefly. In Japan, there's something called a nigyu. It's a fish-like creature with a human face, believed to bring misfortune or longevity depending on the tail. So again, we got this kind of duality. Some of the tales right within the same culture talk about something good, and then they also talk about something bad. So, and that's very consistent also. Legends tell of a princess who ate powerful, often beautiful mermaid uh, figures, and this was like a fish, and lived for centuries. So she ate these mermaids, and then she lived for centuries. In Africa, the water spirit called uh, Mamiwata, is who brings both healing and chaos. Was revered in rituals from Senegal to the Congo, blending indigenous beliefs with uh, colonial era reinterpretations. Okay, so it carried through. Um, and a lot of these, let me also say this, and I've done quite a bit of research on this. A lot of this isn't just in oceans. Sometimes it's in rivers, sometimes it's in lakes where they see these types of creatures. Okay. So then there's the Pacific Islanders. So they talk about this mythology and they speak of these shape-shifting ocean beings, sometimes surfacing as humans, other times as marine animals or hybrid forms. Okay. Even in the Arctic, the Inuit legends include stories of something called Harpupulek, a mermaid-like creature with green skin and long hair who steals away children who get too close to the shoreline. Okay. And then you're always going to say, well, maybe the parents are just kind of telling them and making a story up saying, hey, you get too close to the shore, you get too close to the water, you may fall in, and then this creature will come along and get you, we'll never see you again. That's very possible, although maybe there is the creature. These stories emerge not as a single source, but have scattered islands of the time and traditions, also describing humanoid beings raising from the sea. So, again, many different cultures. So, let's talk a little bit about the origins, possibly. Could these legends stem from more than the fog or human imagination? Yes, they could. Some scholars propose that mermaid myths may originate in misidentifications of aquatic animals, such as manatees and something called the dugongs. Uh, and they're because they have these kind of sulfur eyes. The manatees do, especially because I've seen manatees. I don't know too much about the dugongs. But anyways, they have these kind of sulfur eyes, and they have a habit of nursing their young upright in the water, but upright, holding them. And I've actually seen that in Florida. So they may have been mistaken for humanoid beings by, maybe some exhausted sailors or something that their imagination goes wild. Christopher Columbus himself reported seeing mermaids near the Dominican coast, disappointed that they were not as beautiful as they were painted. Yeah, that's the other thing is some of these cases where recent times people have seen these kind of creatures come up and they kind of see some kind of a hair, kind of a weird face, and kind of a like a sea hag type face, and they're really pretty dang ugly, actually, the way people kind of describe them. And it's these sightings are still going on today. They haven't gone away. There's still people that are seeing something like this. It's pretty fascinating. Uh, but what is it doesn't fully explain the consistency of the tales across the cultures. So again, as I mentioned before, the consistent sightings across many different cultures, many different times, and all the way up until the present. So others speculate that mermaids and mermen could be a symbolic remnants of a prehistoric connection to the aquatic life. There's something called the aquatic ape hypotenuse. A fringe but fascinating theory suggests that a branch of early humans may have adapted to a semi-aquatic environments, leading to enhanced swimming abilities, kind of a thicker layer of fat, and even able to breathe, have this a very high level of breathing control, and actually swim for a long time underwater. Of course, this has been largely dismissed by mainstream science, maybe rightfully so, but it continues to fuel the discussion of evolutionary circles and speculative fiction alike. Most extreme thinkers postulate that if alien life had ever visited Earth's oceans, which I'm pretty sure they have, uh, arguably more mysterious than space, they may have manipulated marine life or humans into some type of hybrid form of being. This taps into the ancient astronaut theory and the idea that merfolks may not be purely natural, but engineered. Pretty interesting, huh? So, in our own era, the age of radar and submarines, you would expect mermaid reports to vanish into mythology. Yet they persist, and curiosity still persist around the world. So let's go through a couple of these of more recent time. In 2009, residents of in Israel on the coast of Israel claimed to see a mermaid lounging on the rocks before diving into the sea and vanishing. The town, which was close to where the sighting was so convinced it offered $1 million reward for verifiable proof, though nothing has ever surfaced and nobody has collected the $1 million. So then there's another one in Zimbabwe, Africa. Dam workers on Lake Haraba uh, alleged refusing to continue construction after seeing mermaids who harassed them while they were trying to build this dam. Local chiefs took the claim seriously enough to demand spiritual rituals to appease the spirits. Okay, so then there's this Greenlandic, again, this is in 2012. Greenlandic fishermen have described humanoid figures following their boats beneath the ice in a virtual, and they actually did some type of a virtual mock documentary titled "Mermaids: the Body Found." And this, of course, helps stir the imagination by blending dramatization with real marine biology to explore how mermaids might plausibly have evolved. While fictional, it had triggered a surge of reports and conspiracy chatter online. Even NASA former astrobiologist Dr. Joan Whittaker uh, once mused on the possibility of parallel intelligence life forms developing in the oceans. Could something exist that chooses to remain hidden deliberately, avoiding detection? Aha! Sounds to me on Earth, on the landmass as Sasquatch. So maybe there's a Sasquatch creature in the ocean. So why 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 should we still keep on looking in the sea? Enduring fascination with mermaids and mermen might reflect something deeper, a longing for the connection to the unknown, a mythical echo that remains within us of the ancient origin in the ocean. While they represent our subconscious desire for freedom, the allegory, the love and the danger, or the forgotten encounter passes down as a myth. These beings continue to swim through our art, pop, pop culture, and dreams. So let's also talk. I want to talk just for a minute on there's not only is there the typical uh, mermaids and mermen, or merfolks as they call it, but then there's this kind of, I would call it a little bit of subtypes. Okay, so the classic mermaid, long hair, fishtail, ethereal singing, dominates the popular lore, and the world's oceans deem with diverse interpretation of merfolks. Some subtypes have emerged. Both of them, sometimes it has friendly connotations and sometimes they're malevolent in the ways they're looked at from human side. So then here's a couple more interesting ones. The Scottish and the Irish folklore has something called the uh, skeekies. sea selkies, and they are these seal-like beings that shed their skin to become human. So, okay, here are these kind of seal beings that shed their skin. Tales often involve romance or heartbreak, as stolen seal skins trap them on the land with until recovered. Okay, so kind of an interesting one. Somebody steals their skins that I guess they put on. They go back into the ocean. If somebody steals them, then they're stuck. They're stuck on land. So, anyways, then of course we got the sirens. Uh, these came kind of from the Greeks and the Romans. They're originally bird people and later emerged with the mermaid imagery. Unlike playful sea sprites, they were dangerous masters of illusion and subduction. Subduction. So, yeah, the sirens were not the good group at all. I don't think there was anything positive about them. And I talked about the ones in Japan. So, anyways, in conclusion, maybe, just maybe, they are waiting below the surface still, curious, watching, and far more real than we dare to imagine. I think they're very real. But let's say this: happy trails until we meet again. We'll see you. Bye bye.